wide open. And I know exactly what I'm dreaming of. I'm dreaming of Reverend David, Dr. David Goldberg. Anyway, he is the publisher and editor of the Guide for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind magazine. He considers the 80,000 people the magazine touches every month in all of its forms to be his congregation. That means all of us. In his role, he also works with all of Ernest Holmes' titles, to which the Centers for Spiritual Living holds the copyright. Additionally, he works with a number of ministers, practitioners, and spiritually inspired writers through CSL's Science of Mind Publishing, Spiritual Living Press, and Park Point Press, a partner publishing program. So prior to joining CSL, David had his own communication consultancy, and he worked with diverse clients in telecommunications. He has more than 30 years of experience in all aspects of publishing, leadership development, marketing, communication, and public relations, and has worked for and with many major organizations across the country. David earned his bachelor's degree in technical journalism and public relations and holds a master's degree in communication. He also holds a second master's in consciousness studies and is an ordained religious science minister. David has also earned his Doctor of Philosophy, his PhD in creative leadership, and with a concentration in creativity, diversity, and social justice. His research interest and continuing focus is the intersection of leadership and spirituality. He holds an advanced certification in emergenetics, a personality assessment tool, and is a certified labyrinth facilitator. David is also a member of the Leadership Council of the Association for Global New Thought, which is why he's in town. And we are so blessed to have him here. So please welcome my dear friend, Reverend Dr. David.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My goodness, I'm feeling like my work here is done. Y'all got it going on. And for a Colorado kid to say y'all is something else. Which reminds me of something else they said. Go to Florida in January, they said. It'll be warm, they said. It'll be a great getaway from Colorado, they said. Lane, I love you when you lie to me. Oh my gosh, what a joy it is to be with you. Truly, your reputation precedes you. You all are doing extraordinary work under the leadership of Reverend Lane. Thank you. Thank you for saying yes to your call. Thank you for choosing to move from Colorado to Florida. Thank you for being exactly where you are supposed to be. This is an extraordinarily brilliant community. I love that your space is green, the color of the heart chakra. It feeds us all. So thank you for that. As has already been mentioned so brilliantly by Randy, my gosh, I think you have another career as the announcement guy. You're all over it. And as Reverend Lane mentioned, it's our pleasure to gift you a copy of the July. That's what we're working on now. The February issue of Guide for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind magazine. Those of you who have been with us for a while might recognize that we have 3 special issues a year. February, we highlight spiritual travel. June, we highlight pets. And in the fall, we highlight health and wellness and sustainability. And that is completely driven by our business model. When we did some extensive research a couple of years ago, we found that in addition to spirituality, those are the things that you as people on a spiritual path are most interested in. So that's how we try to continue to support you. So this issue is bigger than normal. It's well over 130 pages. And it's our joy and honor to produce basically a spiritual textbook every month. So thank you for that. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. If you don't, please do. And we also have a free newsletter that will arrive in your email box twice a month if you're interested in that as well. So enough of that commercial. Also, as was noted earlier by Susan, and thank you for your beautiful prayer, my goodness. Rick and I are offering a workshop this afternoon on animal totems and meditation. My husband Rick is an internationally renowned psychic and medium and animal communicator. And he has created his own animal totem deck. He took 45 pictures of animals, and that is the deck that we're going to be working with this afternoon. We're going to explore the difference between animal totems and spirit guides, and then we're going to take it into direct application, because what we know in working with adult learners is the fastest we can move it from theory into practice, the longer it'll stick with us. I'm not projecting anything onto any of you. It helps me remember better. So please join us. We would love to have you with us. So, and by way of remembering our theme for today, or the talk title, if you look at the binding of your magazine, Reveal the Common Good, or Our Common Good, is also the theme of the February magazine. We have the theme for each magazine on the spine of the magazine. Again, it helps us remember and keep track. So part of what we're looking at then, part of my intention is to move from the quasi-metaphysics into quantum metaphysics. So what our intention is to shift from, I'm kind of here, I'm kind of feeling it, I kind of understand, to I know. This is what I know, this is who I am, and this is what is mine to do and to be and to share with the world. So that's just a little bit of the framework for us. So as we move into the common good, what do we know as metaphysicians, as religious scientists? We know that it has to start with us. It has to start with me. It has to start with my consciousness. And my friends, my invitation today is, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. We don't put our founder on a pedestal. We don't put our ministers on a pedestal, although a little adoration is nice. But we are all in this together. We are on this path. I know Reverend Lane, and I know her heart, and I know that she would never pretend to have all of the answers. So as she is speaking, as she is learning, as she is growing, so too she invites you on that journey with her. And that is all of our ministers in religious science. We don't know it all, although sometimes I like to think that, and it would make life a whole lot easier if people would just listen. But that's a different conversation. So I loved your prayer, Susan. I loved your song, Vicki. Thank you. It was perfect. We connected in mind, and I love when that happens. And so today, we're going to talk about the great I am. So you know this, or if you've been on a spiritual path for any length of time, anything that we put around I am is extraordinarily powerful, because it is when humans, forgive me, in Ernest's language, it was the time when man first recognized that he could think. And it was in that moment that we started to be able to co-create our experience with the divine. And it is in that moment where evolution wasn't a given. That's when we got to decide that this is what we want to do, this is what we want to learn, this is how we're going to grow, or not. So it is in that moment of the great I am. And the part of your prayer that I loved, Susan, is owning that I am. God is joy. I am joy. God is extraordinary. I am extraordinary. Because what do we know from our teaching symbol, from the seed, soil, plant example? Whatever we plant is what we get. It's really pretty simple, and it's all in the execution, right? So if I plant petunias, the universe isn't going to say, I think you really wanted kumquats. If I plant carnations, the universe isn't going to say, I think a bird of paradise would look lovely right there. So whatever we plant, whatever we think about is what we get. So whatever we place around the I am, we are continually planting those seeds. So when I am having a moment of human experience, and I am frustrated, and I am angry, and I am fill in the blank, my bank account isn't as full as I would like it to be, I am poor, I am stressed, the universe says, awesome, go you. Right? The universe doesn't get to change our mind. So, we know that words are powerful. We know that words are extraordinary. We know that our words are powerful. And we all get to have those experiences. And I just really invite you to consider, right? Change your thinking, change your life. That is where it starts. Yes, I may be tired, so I am tired, or I am jet lagged. And I have the energy of the divine. I am able to tap into the wisdom of the universe. Do you understand where this is going? We can think what we think. We're not wearing rose-colored glasses, and we get to retrain our own minds. So let's unpack the power of that I am. The first piece is imagine. What are you imagining? What are you calling in to your life and to your experience? You know, I love, where's our beloved giant soul with short legs? I love that she came in and introduced her playmates to us. She is imagining, she is creating, she is doing everything that we know how to do as spiritual beings having a human experience. What are you imagining? What are you calling in? What are you creating? You know, some would say the universe takes it out of us soon enough, or my mom, when she was a little girl, always wanted to be a ballerina. She always had pictures of classic ballets and everything all around. And the world told her that she was too tall to be a ballerina. And so she let that dream go. And then later in life, she became an extraordinary ballroom dancer, because while it may not be dancing in toe shoes, she was still able to dance. So what are you calling in? What are you imagining? You know, being in the land of Disney, I'm a huge Disney fan, and I get some of you are and some of you aren't, and I honor everybody on that path. I happen to be in the former category. And the little bit that I have read and that I know of Walt Disney is that he was imagining, he was creating literally until the end of his life. You know, on the train ride when he was coming back to California, and he sketched this stick figure of this kind of odd-looking mouse and called him Mortimer, and then it evolved into Mickey. He listened, he imagined, he changed, and as he was lying on his deathbed in the hospital, dying from lung cancer, because he was quite a smoker, I understand, he was looking up at the ceiling in the hospital. And he started connecting the dots on the ceiling panels. And that is where the blueprint for Walt Disney World was born. He was looking at the ceiling and he said, we can do this over here and we can do that there. He thought he was hallucinating, but it kind of made sense and it kind of felt good. So then his brother came in to visit him. He said, Roy, take notes. So there he is, lying there. His brother is taking the notes, and he made his transition the next morning. So what are you imagining? What have you put on hold? And what is it time for you to access? For you to co-create with the divine? As Lane was kind to mention, I love it when people read my bio exactly as I write it. As a writer and editor myself, I have the joy and the honor to work with a whole lot of people who have a book inside of them, right? So we've all heard the phrase, don't die with your song still inside of you. Well, of course, I get to take artistic license with that. Don't die with your book still inside of you. You are a perfect expression of the divine. You have a unique interpretation of your journey and your path that will support other people on their journey and their path. So let's have a conversation about writing your book. And part of what we do, and I mentioned Park Point Press, people come to us with a completed original manuscript and a check. It's a break-even proposition for Centers for Spiritual Living. And then we do all the hard stuff. We do the interior design, we do the cover design, we do a round of editing and a round of proofing, and we get the ISBNs, and we create the electronic book. we do all the stuff that highly creative people aren't always as interested in doing. So if you want to write a book, my friends, write a book. There's never going to be a better time. You're never going to be any younger. You're never going to be any less busy. So consider that. What are you co-creating, and what are you imagining? What are you calling in? And the spiritual practice that I would invite you into as part of that imagine or imagination is visioning. I know that you've been involved with that as a community, and for those who may not be as familiar, it is a process where we just make ourselves available to the divine. What is Spirit as David trying to say? What is Spirit as you trying to offer to this conversation? So whether it's the amazing work your beloved community is doing in growth, in movement, in change, in changing the vibration not only in Tampa Bay but on the planet, that is the visioning process. Sometimes it comes through in words, sometimes it comes through in pictures, and it's all good. And again, for the readers of the magazine, we've invited all of our readers into a visioning process for the magazine this year. We've got a question a month over the course of the year, and then toward the end of the year, we'll recap all of that, and then that will hopefully lead us into perfect vision in 2020. So, visioning is the spiritual practice by way of reigniting what is yours to do and what's in it for the imagination. The second piece we want to look at is acceptance. And I have been sitting with this for a while, and I was feeling a little bit of a disconnect and trying to get more clarity around what that felt like and what that looked like for me. And what I have come to is there's a difference between acceptance and spiritual acceptance. And so acceptance might be, I love my kid and they love this person and I'm not sure it's the right fit, but okay, and we'll go with it and we'll make peace and we'll all do the best we can with that. And spiritual acceptance, there's really two pieces to that. One is a gradual acceptance and one is an awakening, if you will. And for those who have been reading the magazine for a while, you'll know that we honored Mother, now Saint Teresa, a couple of years ago in October, the month that she was sainted. And no, that wasn't a serendipitous moment. We planned on that for 18 months in advance. Anyway, I love part of Mother Teresa's story where she was praying in the garden and she got the call that it was her work to serve God when she was 12 years old. Now, that's lovely. And she was 12 years old. And she didn't know what that looked like. She didn't know what that was supposed to be. So fast forward, she had joined the convent. She was doing the work as a nun. She founded her order, and I don't remember the order that she initially joined. But she was doing that work. Then she was called into the streets to work with the poorest of the poor, as she called these folks. And then the Mother Superior of the convent called her and invited her into a position of leadership at the convent. So she's literally sitting on a curb in Calcutta, India. She's got this invitation to step into a larger role in her spiritual community, and she's doing the work that she knows she's supposed to be doing. The rain is coming down, she is soaked to the bone, and she's was all of 5 feet tall, and she's crying. And she's having her own crisis of faith. And what does this look like? And what does this mean? And what does this feel like? And what should I do? And the thing that came to her in that moment, the awakening, was, yours is to serve the people. So she could have gone back to the convent, and it was austere, to be sure, and she had a roof over her head, and she had 3 meals a day, and all bets were off when she was working on the street. So she is the example of gradual as well as the awakening. And the spiritual practice that goes along with the acceptance piece is meditation. And I know that this is not new information to any of you. It has been said that when we pray, in our tradition, in many traditions, sometimes we're beseeching that, I would like this on behalf of myself or my family or my pet. And we're asking, perhaps it's for health, perhaps it's for finances, perhaps it's for security or relationship, and we're the ones doing the talking. And when we meditate, we're listening for the answer. So when I have had those moments where I'm thinking God isn't listening to my prayers, perhaps I'm not listening to God. Perhaps I'm not giving my human self that opportunity to be quiet and to allow that answer to drop in. And you know, as Ernest said, I really appreciate my direct relationship with the divine. And I get to be clear about what I want and need. And I get to say, okay, God, please communicate with me in a language I can understand. A non-answer is not an answer. Help me understand what you're communicating with me. And P.S., I don't mean to rush you, but I need to know now. Right? So, and I don't mean to sound crass or arrogant, and I'm not telling God what to do. I'm just trying to be clear in what I need and want on my human walk, and therefore, this or something better, right? Because there is divine time and there is David time, and when the two mesh, it's awesome. And when they don't, guess who wins? And it's all good. So that is what I get to know. So I love the song, Something's Calling Me a Little Bit Deeper Than I've Ever Been Before. And I know that we have all been in that place. And I just invite you into that. The other thing that I appreciate about meditation is that there's no wrong way to do it. You get to be there, you get to do it as you know it, and you get to allow whatever is to come through. So that's the acceptance piece. The third piece that I wanted to talk about, and I loved it, Lane, when you mentioned it in your praying this morning, is magnetize. What we are doing, what we are choosing to do, is letting our light shine. So Rick and I were in our spiritual community a while ago now, and doing what you all do so brilliantly here. We were singing, we were praying, we were meditating, we were having our individual moment with our interpretation of the divine, and it came time for the end of the service, and we sang and we walked out, and all of a sudden I feel this tap on my shoulder, and this beloved, who I have never seen before, says, "David?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "You don't know me." And I said, "That is correct." And she said, "I just wanted to tell you that your light is shining so brightly, your aura is so bright, that I almost had to come up to you during service and ask you to turn it down." Now let's think about that for just a moment. I think I said something profound like, "Thank you." And as I continue to be with that, as ministers, as many of you know, because you're all in your own life ministries, whether you choose to call it that or not, as ministers, we look at everything as a talk. And after that little experience, I was like, oh, there's a talk in there. So I continued to be with this, and now, if I had the opportunity to converse with this beloved, and she said, "I almost had to invite you to turn your light down," I would say, thank you. I honor you and I appreciate you, and thank you for recognizing my light. And, I am where I am, and rather than my dimming my light, what if you joined me? So that's not calling anybody out. And the invitation is, please join me and let's do this work together. And P.S., I love you, and I'm not dimming my light for anybody. And if there's anything in that for you, I invite you to be in that space. When you play small, when you dial it back to make anybody comfortable, that's really kind. And we do that as helpers in helping people move along, and that does not serve us, my friends. When we play small, it does not serve us. So keep that in mind as we are magnetizing. Rick and I have a good friend. She went through practitioner training with me. So we were together for at least 2 years of classes and everything that preceded that. And I knew her and I loved her, and I didn't feel an automatic connection with her. And in prac class, every week I noticed that she was sitting right beside me. And like, okay, that's great, this is meant to be. And so at some point something came up just organically around that, And I said, Joanne, I love that we're sitting together. And she said, oh yeah, that's a conscious decision that I make. Because sometimes when I come to class, I really don't have a lot of energy. So I just sit next to you and plug into yours. Again, thank you. So I'm happy to share when I'm conscious of sharing, when I'm prayed up and when I've got it to offer and when I'm doing my thing. And when I am in my learning space, when I am in my scratchy space, when I am not as inclined to share that energy, I need to be aware that people are plugging into me. And again, I would share that with you as well. We want to do that. We want to help where we can. And make a conscious decision when you choose to share your energy and when it serves you not to do that. Another person, another mentor, a friend, a dear friend and colleague, and continues to be support for me, was previously a minister at Mile High. She's now doing some of her own work and doing beautifully and extraordinary work. She taught us in one of her classes, in a prelude to voice dialogue work, that whenever she steps onto a spiritual campus, she absolutely shields herself. And it's not from a place of being selfish or not wanting the energy, but as she says, it's a way of protecting herself from the energy vampires. So when she moves onto a campus, she sends her energy field 2 stories up, 2 stories down, 2 stories forward, 2 stories back, and 2 stories to each side. I'm like, dang, you're a powerful presence, and that's a lot of stories. And she said, David, that's what I need to do for myself. And I some people work it differently. Some people say, I don't want a shield. I want to create a light that is so bright that none of that can get in unless I'm conscious of it. Some people choose to shield. I just invite you to be in that space to do what is right for you. Because what I know is the same God that created me and continues to dwell in me and express as me is who I am putting first when I put myself first. So when you are in that space of, I have to go to another meeting, no offense, I have to go to a board meeting, I have to, it's lovely and it's wonderful that you're in service, and I invite you to put yourself first. Because this is not from a place of ego, this is not from a place of narcissism. Again, we can't give what we don't have. So when you put yourself first, when you're prayed up, when you're ready, when you're connected, when you're energetically grounded, that is when your light shines. That's when people come up to you and say, can you turn down your aura? So what does that look like when you think about that? What does that look like when you think about putting yourself first? I can tell you from my experience, it's not something that I was really good at, because it wasn't something that I was trained to do. I put my family first, I put my spouse first, I put pets first, I put the community first, I put the tens of thousands of people who read the magazine first, I put my staff first, and that was a huge shift for me. Again, understanding that it's not out of ego and it's not out of narcissism. So that's your homework this week, my friends. Be with that thought, be with that intention of putting yourself first. I see heads nodding. That's a good thing. I invite you into that. That'll be good. The other piece is around magnetizing, that the clarity is good, and that continues to be one of my prayers. So how many, if I may ask, how many people have served in the military? Bless you. Thank you for your service. And I never have, but what I do, part of my practice is, I know that in the military you wore dog tags, and these are my God tags. And this helps me remember what my prayer is for myself and my ministry. And that is clarity, and that is oneness, and that is love. So what is your prayer for your life's work? What is it that you're doing? You get to co-create with the divine. You're not doing this alone. And lean into it, embrace that. So the spiritual practice that goes along with magnetizing is one of the steps in our 5-step or 7-step treatment process or prayer process around unification. And again, Susan, that is what you did so beautifully in your prayer. God is extraordinary. I am extraordinary. So unifying yourself with that one divine presence. Many folks who have taken SOM1 or Back to Basics kind of understand that. And that's a hugely important piece of the work that we do. You are unifying, you are connecting with that one divine power, that one divine presence. So be in that as well. What does that look like for you? So join me in that. I am magnificent.
I am magnificent.
I am extraordinary.
I am extraordinary.
I am powerful.
I am powerful.
I am wonderful.
I am wonderful.
I am the face of God.
I am the face of God.
Yeah. And you are. And I am grateful. So whatever we put after the I am, let's be conscious of what we do and what we say and how we express that. I is imagine. What are you imagining? A is accept or acceptance. What are you accepting? What do you know to be your truth? M is magnetizing. What are you wanting to call in more of? And what are you choosing to release? So my late partner and I had been together almost 18 years when he made his transition suddenly. And after I had done some work and I was ready to call in another partner, again, I was talking with my mentor minister, and I said, so I have this mantra. I know who I'm calling in. I'm getting clarity about, who and what I want. And I recited this whole thing to her that I had been practicing for weeks. And she said, yeah, so what is your question? I said, my question is, I don't want to limit God. I don't want to say, this is what my human mind wants, but God has a bigger idea of this and this and this and this and this. And she looks at me, and she is so kind, and she is so loving, and she is so Cynthia, and she says, honey, you're powerful. You ain't that powerful. Okay. I'm absolutely good with that. So put forth what you want, put forth what you need, put forth who and what you are calling in with the divine. It's never too late. So as we talk about revealing the common good, my friends, we know that it starts with us. We know that we are the ones that we've been waiting for. And it is in this spiritual community where you come together, where you are able to do your work, where you are able to do the work, where you are able to change your own vibration in your own frequency, and thus change the vibration and the frequency on the planet, right? Because it's like moths to a flame. When we're vibrating up here, we have the folks who are saying, ooh, I want some of that, and some are more effective at communicating with us than others. Bless you. And we also have those who are vibrating at the same level that we're calling in, and we're raising the vibration on the planet. So that's what we're doing. That's what our work is about. That is revealing the common good. And it starts with you. And I'm so grateful for you choosing to do this work. Let's pray. Mother, Father, God, thank you for this time. Thank you for this amazing community coming together in heart, coming together in soul, coming together in spirit, coming together in connection. And I call in the highest and best. I reveal the truth of each and every one of these beings in every aspect of their lives. Mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, relational, professional, whatever it looks like, whatever it is, I know that the only thing present is that which I choose to call God, but that goes by so many names. Spirit, Buddha, Yahweh, Dr. Seuss. We accept wisdom wherever it lies. And I just say thank you. I just say thank you, thank you, thank you. And as we go forth into this week and into this month and beyond, I know that Reverend Lane and the board and the practitioners and the volunteers and the musicians are doing God's work in identifying that perfect space for this beloved community. And I know for them the same power that Ernest Holmes claimed in his prayer when he said, God, this is Ernest. Need I say more? So we just bless it. We know that power for Reverend Lane. We know that power for every member of this community. And as we go forth, what I know to be true is that these beloveds are living the concept of Namaste. The divinity in me blesses and recognizes the divinity in you. Knowing that every action, reaction, interaction, and transaction is God speaking to God. So I simply rest in that knowing that it is unfolding beautifully and perfectly, and that all is well. God is great, all is good. And we join together in saying, and so it is, and so I am,
And so I am.
and so we are.
And so we are.
Thank you, Spirit.